Men's basketball holds on to spoil Rick Barnes' return to Austin. Women's basketball drops a close one to Oklahoma, and a pair of instant classics in an already historic NFL playoff run. All of this and more coming up next on College Press Box. Good evening and welcome to College Press Box. I'm your host, Tommy Yarrish. It's Jason Kinander. We've got a great show for you today. We'll start right down the street at the Irwin Center, where the 18th-ranked Tennessee Volunteers came into town to take on the Longhorns in the beginning of a tough stretch in the season for Chris Beard and company. Let's take a look at the highlights. It was a special night at the Irwin Center for sure, as Texas welcomed back the winningest head coach in program history. Rick Barnes back to Austin for the first time since his 17-year stint with the Longhorns, and plenty of burnt orange legends were there to welcome him. There's the Hall of Famer TJ Ford embracing his former head coach. Of course, those two helped Texas to their first Final Four appearance since the late 40s back in 2003. Taking a look at game highlights now. First play of the game for Texas. Courtney Raby double-teamed on the baseline. That opens up the middle of the floor for Christian Bishop to throw down the slam. Longhorns draw first blood. Later in the half, Raby driving again. This time falls to the ground but kicks it out to Andrew Jones, and he hits the left wing three. That knocks it up at 14 apiece. Closing seconds of the first half, Timmy Allen can't find a shot, but so instead he finds Devin Askew. He hits that triple to tie it up at 25 going into the half, and that's where things start to get interesting. In this second half, Longhorns jumped out to a 12-point early lead, and then Courtney Ramey hits that corner three to make it 15, but this game is far from over. On the other end for the Volunteers, Josiah Jordan James is going to put one in here from behind the arc, and just like that, we've got a 14-point game on our hands. A few minutes later, Tennessee gets another bucket. Texas lead is cut to 12. How about James again? He's going to get it same spot and the same result. Now a single-digit deficit for the Volunteers. Lead is cut to 9. And then the very next possession, Zakai Zegler is going to get some separation, and he'll hit a tough step-back three with some defense right in his face. Just like that, Tennessee has made this a game under 3 minutes to play. Now a minute and a half to go. Zegler going to get it off the inbound here. Not going to use the screen, instead pull up for three. That shot won't go, but watch the baseline. That's Victor Bailey Jr. coming flying down to tip it in. Ties it at 51 after a 16-0 run for Tennessee. After all that, Timmy Allen gets sent to the free throw line, hits the first one, misses the second. That leaves the door open for Tennessee with 6 seconds left, and a three off the mark for the win. Longhorns win it, and they head to Lubbock for Chris Beard's return.
I am now lucky to be joined by our men's basketball analyst, Harrison Chiu. Harrison, it was a huge week for Texas basketball, picking up a pair of quad one wins for that matter. First, let's focus on Saturday's showdown. Rick Barnes' big return to Austin. His Tennessee Volunteers squad fell short of a comeback at the buzzer. What are your takeaways from the game and on Coach Barnes' impact on the University of Texas as a whole?
Well, thanks for having me, Jason. From the Longhorns' point of view, the weekend could not have gone any better. The Horns picked up a much-needed win against a ranked opponent while also giving former head coach Rick Barnes his well-deserved flowers. After 17 years as the Longhorns head coach, Rick Barnes returned to a sold-out Irwin Center full of tributes, old players, and many memories. But Barnes' impact goes further than his record-setting tally, a 2003 Final Four, and the recruitment of athletes like KD and TJ Ford. But Barnes is the catalyst who made Texas basketball relevant in the 2000s and laid the groundwork for what is to come for the Horns. In what was such an emotional game, Texas showed grit and its excellent defense for most of the game. And while they did come up with the victory, Texas gave up a 17-point lead and a wide-open three that could have lost them the game. Their ability to finish and handle the pressure down the stretch is something to keep an eye on.
At this time last week, Texas really lacked any sort of NCAA tournament resume, and now, 1 week later, the Horns look firmly in the field of 64, have returned to the AP Top 25 at number 13. What has the team shown you as of late that maybe wasn't there in the opening months of the season?
There's no doubt that it has been a great three-game stretch for the Longhorns. Wins in the Big 12 and against ranked opponents it's not an easy feat. We knew that Beard would be bringing in a renewed defensive focus and culture to the team, as it ranks in the #1 scoring defense in the NCAA. But the question on the offensive side of the floor and reliable scoring is still in question. Timmy Allen has been a dependable piece at his point forward position, making open shots, banging down low, and cutting to the basket, averaging close to 12 points a game. But who is going to consistently step in as that second or third scorer? The team has shown their capabilities of scoring from all over because of their highly touted depth. Earlier in the season, it was Trey Mitchell. Carr has had some explosive games. Jones has caught fire from 3. Courtney Ramey just scored 18. But with all these pieces, can they put it all together as they begin a grueling 5-game stretch? It's almost February now, and the team, if it hasn't already, needs to go.
Well, that can start off tomorrow as Texas will head to Lubbock for the marquee game of the season. It's Coach Beard's return to Texas Tech. Massive game in terms of both pride for Coach Beard and the standings for Texas basketball. What do you expect to see out of Tuesday's game?
Well, you've seen it already with shots of Texas Tech students camping out for tickets and ridiculous prices for lower bowl seats. It will be a packed house, a raucous environment, and a not-so-welcome home party for Chris Beard. Tech coach Mark Adams will do everything in his power to get his players ready, including scoring leader Bryson Williams and potential Defensive Player of the Year candidate Kevin McCullough. Watch out for how they pressure the ball and pick Texas up full court like Tennessee did late in the second half. This high-emotion and intense game will absolutely test the mettle and composure of the Texas Longhorns, but will specifically test point guard Marcus Carr and backup Devin Askew's ability to get the team settled on offense and get settled on offense. Extra possessions will be key, so look for Dylan DeSue and Christian Bishop to play important minutes to grab rebounds. Tune into Tuesday's night's contest because between these Big 12 foes, it will certainly be a wild one.
Certainly a game that we've been looking forward to for a while here in Austin, and the people in Lubbock have been looking forward to probably for almost a year now. Well, thank you for joining us tonight, Harrison. When we return, we will examine a busy week for Texas women's basketball. You will not want to miss it.
Welcome back into College Press Box. We now change our focus to women's basketball as the Longhorns came just short to rival Oklahoma last week, 65-63, and now we welcome in our women's basketball analyst, Edly Termilien. Edly, thank you as always for coming on and joining us.
Well, I'm happy to be here.
Let's start out with, it's never a tough pill to swallow when you lose to your rival, much less in a rivalry like Texas and Oklahoma, and it's even more amplified when it's just by 2 points. What was it that went right for Oklahoma this Saturday?
Well, this game was a neck-and-neck battle between the Lady Longhorns and the Lady Sooners. Texas is coming into this game with a 4-game winning streak, and OU is ranked first in the Big 12. The score was 65-63. Even though the Lady Hornets were dominant in the defense, in offense, second quarter to third quarter, it just came down to the defense in fourth quarter. The Sooners were dominated with 17 points, and Texas just couldn't stop Maddie Williams and Taylor Robinson, who led OU to victory. The Horns only got 6 assists and 13 steals.
We talk about marquee games like this. There's players that always step up on both sides. Let's take a look at Texas. Who was it that stood out for them?
Freshman Rollie Harmon. She made 15 points, 3 assists, and 11 rebounds on her birthday. Harmon just has so much hustle on the court. You can see like she goes so swiftly on the court, and she just hit a dagger right before the fourth quarter and putting the Longhorns 51-48. So when you have your lower classmen just getting progress into the game, it's really like a good sign for them.
So with this loss behind them, if you can even imagine a bigger challenge looms ahead, taking on the Baylor Bears back-to-back games, couldn't pick up a win in 3 meetings last year against him. What's going to have to happen this time around to change the tide?
The Longhorns just need defense. Baylor are coming in so strong with the offense. There are so many girls that are just hitting the scoreboard, like Queen Iborlo. She is their top scorer right now, and they just need man-to-man pressure on the girls. And I know Coach Vic Schaefer has something up their sleeves for Baylor.
No, absolutely, and hopefully trying to get some redemption there after, as I mentioned, 3 losses last year. Thank you, Edly, as always, for joining us. Always appreciate having you on. And coming up next, if you thought the divisional round of the playoffs was crazy enough, the NFL had another trick up their sleeve. We'll take a look at an absolutely wild championship weekend right after this.
Welcome back into College Press Box. I think I'm speaking for the majority when I say that it has been an unforgettable, monumental, NFL playoff season, and we are lucky enough to have Carter Yates and Adam Ogburn here to break down the madness from yesterday's conference championship games. Adam, take it away.
Thanks, Jason. We're going to start our championship game weekend breakdown in Kansas City, where the Chiefs were looking to earn their third straight Super Bowl appearance as they took on the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's head to Arrowhead Stadium to look at the highlights. Mahomes, we start midway through the first quarter. Mahomes scrambling. He's going to find Tyreek Hill in the back of the end zone for the opening score for the Chiefs. And they keep rolling. Now early in the second, Mahomes making his magic, getting free of Bengals defenders. He's going to find Travis Kelce for the 5-yard score. Chiefs go up 14-3, and they just keep rolling. Mahomes on the play action. He's going to find McCole Hardman wide open for an easy 3-yard score. 21-3 Chiefs, 5 minutes ago in the second. You thought, are they going to run away with it? But the Bengals have an answer. Joe Burrow on the screen pass to Samaje Perine. The former OU running back is going to break free for a big 41-yard touchdown for the Bengals to get them right back in on the action. But Mahomes responds again. He drives the Chiefs 80 yards down the field, but Tyreek Hill is not going to be able to get the last one. The Bengals deny him at the goal line and keep the halftime deficit at 11. Now into the second half, and it's big old B.J. Hill with his first career NFL interception to really turn the game on its head as Joe Burrow marches the Bengals down and finds Jamar Chase for a 2-yard score. Ensuing 2-point conversion. Burrow again delivering. He finds Trent Taylor to tie proceedings up at 21. Now into the fourth quarter we go. Evan McPherson, he's been money. He nails yet another field goal for the Bengals to put them up. But now the Chiefs looking to answer. Mahomes, 3rd down and goal, looking. No one's there, doesn't want to throw it away with the Bengals without a timeout, but he's sacked. The ball comes loose, but luckily for Mahomes, the Chiefs recovers. Harrison Butker, he'll come up clutch again, a 44-yard field goal, and we're going to overtime. Mahomes' third play of overtime, 3rd down and 10, looking deep down the field for Tyreek Hill, but yet again Hill denied, and it's Von Bell who comes up with his second interception of the year for the Bengals, and that's all they would need. Evan McPherson delivering yet again a 31-yard field goal. The Bengals earning their first Super Bowl appearance since 1988 in their 18-point comeback, tying the largest in AFC Championship game history. But the question remained whether they'd be facing the 49ers or the Rams. Let's send it over to Carter with the highlights from LA.
The NFC Championship game featured a battle between two NFC West rivals, with the Los Angeles Rams looking to snap their 6-game losing streak to the San Francisco 49ers and become just the second team in the Super Bowl era to play the World Championship in their home stadium. Rams strike first blood after a defensive stalemate in the first quarter. Matthew Stafford found the NFL's Triple Crown winner Cooper Kupp in the back of the end zone to open up the scoring. But the 49ers responded quickly. Jimmy Garoppolo dumps it to Deebo Samuel, and Deebo, showing you why he was second in the NFL this season in yards after the catch, taking it all the way to the house to tie the game up. Now, fast forward to 2 minutes left in the third quarter. Jimmy G hits George Kittle for his first receiving touchdown in 6 games, gives the 49ers a double-digit lead. Ensuing Rams drive, Stafford once again goes to his breakfast buddy. Kupp's 18th touchdown of the season puts the Rams back in striking distance. 49ers can't respond on offense, and now it's the Rams with the ball. Stafford uncorks it down the field in the breadbasket of Jaquiski Tart, and it's dropped. Stafford catches the break, and on the very next play hits Odell Beckham down the sideline. Officials tack on another 15 yards, and the Rams would go on to kick a field goal and tie the game up. Rams with the ball back late in the fourth quarter. Stafford to, you guessed it, Cooper Kupp. Kupp finished the night with 11 catches and 142 yards. Just inside 2 minutes to play, Matt Gay gives the Rams their first lead since 6 minutes left in the second quarter. Now, the season on the line for the 49ers. Jimmy G trying to escape the grasp of Aaron Donald, and that's not going to work. Last-ditch effort is picked off by Travin Howard, and the Rams are headed to their first Super Bowl since 2018. Stafford cements his first Super Bowl berth in year 13. Sean McVay and the Rams took a gamble trading for Stafford for a boatload of draft picks, and it pays off in year 1. Looking back at the AFC Championship game, What was the key to the Bengals' comeback in the second half?
Yeah, definitely a wild championship weekend, but it really started at the end of the first half. So the Chiefs shot themselves in the foot. Patrick Mahomes finding Tyreek Hill, but he's tackled inbounds to the 1 yard line. No timeouts left for the Chiefs, so clock expires and they leave points there on the field. In the second half, though, the Bengals pass rush really delivered. They came out with 4 sacks, and a lot of it, too, is the Bengals were dropping more guys back in coverage. So they combined to hold Tyreek Hill without a catch, and it really limited the Chiefs' passing game. Mahomes completed just 8 of his 18 passes after halftime, and he also threw 2 big interceptions. And then late on, the Chiefs kind of got into that goal-to-go situation where with the Bengals out of timeouts, Mahomes didn't want to throw the ball away, so he ends up taking 2 bad sacks late on, denying the Chiefs the chance to score a go-ahead touchdown. But, that's enough about the Chiefs. It wasn't all about the Chiefs falling apart. Joe Burrow came up with 2 big third-down conversions using his legs, which led to the Evan McPherson field goal that gave the Bengals the lead in the fourth quarter. T. Higgins came out with 4 catches for 77 yards after the break, and Joe Mixon, after that interception overtime, he delivered, carrying the ball for 28 out of the 42 yards the Bengals needed to carry it, to get the ball into field goal range for Evan McPherson. And how about Evan McPherson, the rookie? 4 more field goals on the night. He's proven he's got ice in his veins. 8 total field goals the past 2 weeks. He has delivered, and he could come up big here in 2 weeks. But that's enough about the Chiefs and Bengals. How about the NFC Championship game, Carter? What does it say about the Rams' psyche? They were able to battle back and beat a team that, the Niners had really had their number in the recent past.
Look, no one has ever questioned if the Rams were a talented team. They clearly have gone all in on winning now and have expended draft capital for instant contributors such as Matthew Stafford, Odell Beckham Jr., Von Miller on the defensive line, and even guys like Jalen Ramsey at corner before that. But I think there were very fair doubts and questions about whether or not the Matthew Stafford-Sean McVay marriage would work come playoff time. Stafford was a guy who had next to no playoff experience in all of his years playing with the Detroit Lions, and in the very few opportunities he had, it was not all that impressive. Well, all these questions regarding Stafford's clutch gene can be put to rest because he has gotten the monkey off his back in this playoff run. The most crucial thing is that he's taking care of the football, and he's not trying to do too much. He's thrown 6 touchdowns to just 1 interception, which has been a welcome sign considering there were some games in the regular season where he was throwing multiple picks and pick sixes. I think the entire team just slayed another dragon by coming from behind and beating a 49ers team that, let's be honest, just seemed more physical than the Rams all season. The 49ers were set up to play bully ball, and I think on both sides of the ball, the 49ers were the best team in the trenches that the Rams have seen and will see all playoffs. Now, what is your initial reaction to this Super Bowl matchup, and who do you think is the favorite heading into the game?
Yeah, I think this matchup, the matchup to watch in the Super Bowl is going to be, can the Bengals offensive line stand strong against a Rams defensive line that has stars like Aaron Donald and Von Miller? If so, if Joe Burrow has the time to throw, he has 3 talented weapons to look for in T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Tyler Boyd that can really all give the Rams secondary problems, and you've seen it all year where one has been shut down, Burrow's been able to turn to the other 2, and really I'd rather have Joe Burrow right now than Matthew Stafford on my team. I mean, you saw in your highlight package that poor throw that almost got picked off by Tart. It was really a lame duck up in the air. So I think even though the game is in Los Angeles, I have to give the Bengals the upper hand. They've proven it, slaying the Titans, slaying the Chiefs. I think they feel like a team of destiny in that defense. They forced multiple turnovers in all 3 playoff games. If they can get that pressure on Stafford like they did on Mahomes, I think they have a recipe for success that can lead to them to their first ever Super Bowl victory. But I do think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I think it takes at least 24 points to win this one.
It's hard to think of a more exhilarating dream playoff run scenario than the one the Cincinnati Bengals have had. And it's been fun to see NFL fans rally around a franchise that hasn't had playoff success in the last 30 years. I think Joe Burrow is the next face of the NFL along with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. He's marketable, he's likable, and he can chuck the rock. But I think the dream run ends in California. The Bengals were last in the NFL this season, giving up 3.5 sacks per game. And I don't think that offensive line will be able to handle Aaron Donald and Von Miller on that defensive line. Burrow can make plays with his legs, but I think he's going to be running around in the scramble drill much more than he'd like to.
Definitely going to be fun to watch here in 2 weeks. I can't wait for that matchup.
Thank you very much for that, Carter and Adam. When we return, we will take a look at what last week had in store for the remainder of the University of Texas sports. You will not want to miss it.
As we welcome you back to College Press Box, the NCAA welcomed the Longhorn baseball team to the #1 spot in the preseason rankings for the first time ever after a disappointing end to the season in the national semifinals last year. Among their #1 ranking, 7 players were named to the preseason All-Big 12 team, including 3 pitchers, which is a good sign as Texas is expected to have one of the better, if not the best, bullpen in college baseball this year.
9th-ranked men's tennis advanced to the ITA Indoor Nationals with a pair of 4-0 wins over the weekend. The Longhorns knocked off Columbia on Saturday, following up that win with the sweep of Oregon on Sunday. Texas will advance to the Indoor Championships for their 4th consecutive season.
The 2nd-ranked women's swim and dive team moved to 4-1 in dual meets after a 141-102 victory over the North Carolina Tar Heels. Texas won 9 out of the 13 events to secure the win, and sophomore Olivia Bray set a pool record in the 100 fly with a time of 51.33 seconds. Their next competition comes this Friday at SMU.
Christine Blazovica broke Texas's pentathlon record of the women's track and field team by a whopping of 108 points at the Texas Tech Open and Multis meet on Friday. Blazovica, in her first pentathlon, amazingly, of the season, finished with a time of 2:13:43, bringing her total to 4,402 points to break Ashton Zamzow's 2019 record.
Now let's take a look ahead at this week in Longhorn sports. We'll start on Tuesday, the event that everyone in Lubbock has been waiting for, as Chris Beard returns to Texas Tech with the men's basketball team. That'll tip off at 8 p.m. on ESPN2. Wednesday, the women's tennis team hosts Baylor at 2 p.m. And on Friday, the men's tennis team will make the trip to Waco to face off with the Bears at 6 p.m. Also on Friday, men's and women's swim and dive will head out to Dallas for the meet at SMU. That'll kick off at 4 p.m. And the women's basketball team looks to bounce back from a close loss against a tough Baylor squad in Waco. You can catch that at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. On Saturday, men's basketball hosts Iowa State, heading back into more Big 12 play at 1 p.m. on the Longhorn Network, and that'll be followed by baseball's alumni game at 4 p.m., also found on the Longhorn Network. Finally, Sunday, women's tennis faces off against Missouri at 2 p.m., and Vic Schaefer's crew plays their 2nd straight game against Baylor, this time at home on 3 p.m. on ESPN2.
Well, that'll do it for this week's episode of College Press Box. Make sure to tune into our other shows this week, including College Crossfire on Wednesday and 1&0 Sports on Friday. On behalf of all the crew here at TSTV, I'm Jason Kinander. He's Tommy Yarrish. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night.